Welcome boys. In this video we're going to be replacing the gender neutral fluid in our 1993 Corvette. I already have the car lifted off the ground, and if we slither towards the underneath, about part of the way through, we have your transmission pan. If you are fortunate enough to have had the foresight to replace your factory pan with one with a drain plug in it, you won't have to take a bath in this, because this is going to be my third or fourth time replacing this fluid, I believe. And I only had to take a bath in it once, the first time. So we're going to slither underneath of here, undo that 21 mil, let the pan drain, and then we will go underneath. Loosen the pan bolts, take the pan all the way down, replace the filter, and then fill it back up with fresh fluid. Let's get started. Okay, now you can drain this while the fluid's cold, but I would recommend you at least warm it up first. So I did a nice little drive up the street and back down. A couple miles of driving to get a little warm. And that's because you want any of the contaminants in the valve body, sludge or anything like that in the bottom of the pan to come out. Of course, if you're just not replacing the filter, you're just doing a drain and fill, well, it's as easy as drain this, and then when it's done draining, pour it into a container, see how much you took out, and just pour the same amount back in. But I am replacing the filter, because I've already drained it and filled it, I think, twice now without replacing the filter. And that was after it had started to stick in gear. It was a very violent shift into drive from neutral or park, any gear adjacent to drive. You'd put it in drive, and then it would just violently engage, bang, and then you would drive. Then it would stay in first until it finally, I don't know, warmed up and violently shifted. Bang in the second, bang in the third, and then in the overdrive. So I went ahead and drained it, filled it, and the fluid was quite black and smelled burned. And so I did that again. Well, it did fine after the first drive, and then it was even better after the second. So assuming that my filter is clogged, we're just going to go ahead and change it out. So you should be able to see now that we have quite a bit drained. It's going to be a slow drip now, so now I won't have to take a bath in this stuff if I go ahead and just drop the pan now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause you here, loosen the pan, take it down, and then we'll get the new filter up in there. Because you don't want to keep driving with it being stuck in its in gear and then violently shifting. That'll eventually break your transmission. But if you catch it soon enough, it's fine. You shouldn't have burned fluid. You want to change it before then. But in this case, we didn't get to it in time. But no real damage is done. It drives just fine now, but we're going to make sure that the filter is replaced. We don't want it clogged up and starving the transmission of its fluid, causing slippage. Transmission slips, it's probably done. In the case of this, it wasn't slipping, so it's just gum in the valve body, which I should probably just drop and clean, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to rely on the high detergence of the transmission fluid to kind of clean it out and then replace the filter. But enough gassing on. Let's get to taking this pan down. Okay, 13 millimeters will get you these obnoxiously large pan bolts out of the way. The fun part is going to be when you get to this exhaust clamp, you will see that it is in the way of that 13 millimeter. And that is because GM hires only the best engineers to design things, and don't you question it. So you will use your 15mm to loosen this exhaust clamp enough to pivot it out of the way so you can access that 13mm, and then we'll just zip them all off and drop the pan. Good news is, since we already drained a bunch of the fluid as we zip these off, we don't have to worry about making a mess and taking a bath in it. The oil is going to stay in the pan and it'll be fine. So I'll get you set in position. You can see me attempt to get this exhaust clamp loose. Oh boy, that's really on there. How much easier my life would be if I had a lift. Alright, that should be out of the way. That may have only went smoothly for me because I've done this multiple times. The last time was in 2018, 9,000 miles ago. So I'm surprised that this fluid is so black and burned. I ain't driven that much. 9,000 miles in, what, 6 years? That ain't much. You can do the math on that. I'm a busy man. Should be able to just get this pan off now with the quickness. I don't know if I bumped you guys. Hopefully I didn't. Did I bump into you? Can you even see what I'm doing? Bet I did. There. If I bumped you and I didn't figure it out until just now, my apologies. Damn it, I just did it again. Okay. For realsies this time, I'm not going to hit you guys. And I will say, for a cork gasket, this thing did pretty damn good. These filters always come with rubber gaskets. I've always preferred cork myself, I guess because I'm old school. Some people say they leak all the time. I've never had a cork gasket leak. I've always, every time I've changed this transmission fluid in this car, used a cork gasket. But I didn't buy one this time, so we're going to try rubber and see if I dig it or not. One more pan bolt holds this thing on. That's the middle one. Let's take the pan down. Okay. Let's get this thing out of here and I guess get that thing back on it. It's dripping off the filter. So, cork gasket for the win. This thing never leaked at all. And the pan, we have some uglies. I guess that's just normal wear. I don't see too many big chunks of anything, but there is a bit of sludge in here. So I feel like that's what's causing the issue. A bunch of sludge just built up in the valve body. Weird. Why is there so much sludge? I just changed this stuff 9,000 miles ago. And boy, is it dark. Alright, this is the magnet, so we're going to clean it and this whole pan off. We'll be back. And this is our pan cleaned. We're prepping it for the rubber gasket here. So I've always used cork before. The cork all came off with this gasket, none stayed on the transmission itself, and then it was easy to just pull off of here. Came off in chunks, but still came all the way off. And this side looks pretty good and clean. So what I am going to do now is get this ready to stay. So I'm going to move you to where you're not in my way. And I'm going to use some of this Permatex Aviation Forma gasket. That's really just to kind of tack this up and keep it on there. I don't plan on using it as a gasket per se. This is just to kind of hold this rubber one in place while we do the thing. While that kind of sits there, use the old zip tie method here to also hold this gasket in place. So with just a few of these in place, the game plan is once I make sure this gasket isn't going to flop around on me, I will be able to easily put this in its place. Thread the bolts that don't have the zip ties in the holes in place. That will then hold the gasket in place when it's in the transmission's end. And then I just simply cut these zip ties. And then we are golden. Kind of putting these around the corners a little. I'm putting the big part that holds the zip tie in place down, so when I cut it, it's not stuck up in there. And then I think we're good. Wipe some of this excess off. I don't need this stuff getting stuck in my filter. This aviation sealant doesn't actually harden. It pretty much always stays like gummy, I'm not going to say liquid form, but flexible, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It doesn't get hard. It's always flexible. That's what I use on my VW Beetle for sealing the case and other things I don't want leaking. Okay, should be good. Now, we're going to go under the car and get the filter off. Here's the new filter. It's only held in place by this little O-ring. Set up in there like this. Well, I guess like this. In the transmission. Let's put the filter in first. This was a Duralast. Perhaps this is the part number, the TF300. Taking a guess. Might be somewhere on there. I assume you can see. I'm not as confident since I just whacked you. Okay. Let's stop all this massive dripping everywhere. Let's wipe the low spots where we got some dripping action. And then let's get this filter off of here. Ugh. Oh, making a mess. Making a mess. That is terrible. What's even more terrible is my O-ring stayed up inside the transmission. So now I gotta go up here and get the damn thing. With all this nasty stuff that's spilled everywhere. Absolutely lovely. But that's why we're showing you this, because that could happen to you. The question of the day is, so this is what we just took out, see? And the O-ring did come out, because it's an O-ring. This is the new one. Do we notice anything different here? Well, this pickup is on the bottom. This is on the top. Let's consult our factory service manual and we will be back. Okay, boys, so confirmed the fat one, even though it is shaped nothing like this one, does work. It is for the correct transmission for the 4L60. So I have no idea why we have two different size filters in here. But as you see, this one's kind of not so wide and a little long, and the pickup's on the top. And well, we just put in the fat guy. It does fit up in there. The tube going up into its little hole. So that fits up in there. And the pickup's on the bottom now. But I have no idea why they're two different shapes. But this is the correct one for the 4L60, which is what this car has. So, alright. She's in. Let's go ahead and button her back up and get the pan back on. Man, this would be so much easier with a lift. Oh, this is just so hard to slither under. Kind of brutal. I think we're at the point now I can start cutting these zip ties and putting the bolts back in them. Know how much we took out so we know how much to put back in. So let's see how much we took out. Whatever this ends up being, it'll be ever so slightly more that we took out, since some of it remained in the filter and some of it's in my hair, on the ground, on the cardboard, etc. I imagine that can't be more than a half quart. It's 1 to 4 quarts, so I'd say it's pretty close to 5, I guess. That'll be a good starting point. I don't know where the line is when this is completely full, but this is damn near full. So we can start with either 4.5, go from there, or 5. I think 5 will be probably just about do it, considering, like I said, some still stuck in the pan, or the filter. It's almost at the top. Okay, let's add our 5 quarts. We'll take 4 quarts from this brand new jug. I'll do 1 quart from the opened one already, from when I had already done the drain and fill before. We are using the Valvoline Max Life multi-vehicle. That's what I put in this car. That's what I put in the BMW. I use a different automatic transmission fluid for my 6-speed manual Camaro. I used Archon V for my Crown Vic. I, of course, used gear oil for the transmissions in my VW Beetles, and I use ATF Plus 4 for the Dodge Neon and the Dodge Dakota. So BMW and Corvette are the two that get this Valvoline Max Life. Be good for a starter anyway. Can add as necessary. I plan on doing 1 more drain and fill anyway, as I have another 2 gallons of 1 quart of this. I can do this essentially 2 more times. Drain and fills, that is. We don't need to change the filter again. And the car is not level, so I can't test it yet until I get everything out from under it. But how you want to check your transmission fluid level. Off the tripod here. There are marks on this dipstick. You see cold and you see hot. With the car level, and after you've started it and rode through the gears, you need to leave the engine running. By rode through the gears, I mean hold your foot on the brake and shift from park to reverse, to neutral, to drive. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, drive, neutral, reverse, park. Stopping for a few seconds in each gear on your way down and back up. With the engine running and it's still in park, you should pull the dipstick. It should be in the cold. Then after about a 20-mile drive, you should pull the dipstick and check, and it should be somewhere in the middle of the hot. Does not matter where in the hot, just needs to be in the hot. So if you're at the bottom of the hot after you've driven 20 miles, that's fine. You don't need to top it off anymore. The hot is a range depending on how hard you've been working the transmission. Is the day hotter than normal? Has it been shifting more than normal because you're stuck in traffic a bunch? The hotter the fluid gets, the more it expands, and that's why you need that room. So don't go out of your way to try to, oh, it's at the bottom of the hot, let me put a little bit more in. No, stop it. As long as it's in the hot, you're fine. Okay, ideally, I guess the perfect amount would be after the transmission is super hot, you've been putting it through its paces, and you park on level ground, row through the gears, and check it. It would be at the very top of hot, at its maximum temperature. This thing even tells you, check and park, engine idling, vehicle level, trans, hot, must be in crosshatch, do not overfill. It's probably too bright for you to see that, but it does say that. Alright, boys, and that's how you change automatic transmission fluid and filter 1993 Corvette with the 4L60 4-speed automatic transmission. Hope this helped. Catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, boys. Peace.